Ahoy there, everyone, and welcome to a very special Citrus Corner. Today, we're going to dive right in, no pun intended there, folks, with OG's recent and very first Disney cruise experience. We're going to talk about it all coming next on Citrus Corner. That never gets old. Love it. So, everyone, welcome back to Citrus Corner, and it's been a while since the three of us have been on. The band's back together. It's awesome.
Yes, the stars aligned just for this moment, basically.
It did. So, joining me today, well, of course, my brothers, my collaborators, the guys that put it all together. I'm going to start down below with Dr. Dre, producer Dre the DA. How you doing, brother?
Oh, man. Go ahead, OG.
The VP, right?
Yeah, apparently. A little inside joke there for the viewers there, going back and forth on Twitter with a couple of the DMs that we had between some people, and yeah, the Veep now. Okay, this is very. We just stack them up here at OG55. Hey, guys that are viewing, I just want to say it's good to be back. It's good to be back to you. I had some complicating factors that have prevented me from joining my illustrious crew here, but I'm glad to be back. And George, thank you for having me. OG, absolutely, thank you for having me. I think this is a very interesting topic. You guys want to follow me? You can go do so right down there on Twitter at VashSky, just like it's spelled right there. Just go ahead and type it in. Should pop up, as Christine Wastelands McCarthy would say, for all the
robust
discussion right there. OG, do you have Walt for us?
I do. Walt, take it away, buddy.
And there's the biggest bargain of all.
The biggest bargain of all, that's correct. And in order to get that, well, you're going to have to subscribe here at Orange Grove 55 and see me there at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove.
Awesome. And of course, Orange Grove 55 wouldn't be without Mr. OG himself. How you doing today, brother?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on Citrus Corner, George. I am really, really looking forward to talking about my first Disney cruise. It's all I've been able to think about since I got off the ship on Friday. I mean, absolutely incredible experience, and I can't wait to sit down and talk to you guys about it.
Awesome. Well, again, let's dive right into it, shall we? So when OG first told us that he's going to be experiencing his very first Disney cruise, I don't like to say I'm a Disney cruise connoisseur, so to speak, but I mean, I've been on a couple Disney cruises, 7 or 8, who's counting really, but I have told him that this is going to be a completely different experience, and I can't wait to hear his take on it, because when you're so used to going to the parks every day, you automatically assume, okay, you're just basically putting the parks on the high seas. And that is not the case. It's a completely different immersive experience. And he got that taste of it on the Disney Wonder. So I guess that'll be my first question to you, OG. Like, what was your first, I guess, start off like with your process, like getting to the ship and boarding, and how was that after the fact of the pandy and everything? How did that all go for you?
That was very smooth. Actually, a lot smoother than I expected. We docked at the San Diego harbor, and now keep in mind my experience is a little different because we had I went with my mom, right, my family, and she got us the concierge. So with the concierge, the lines are a little different because there's a concierge line to go into, which is shorter. It's kind of like the Genie Plus of the cruise thing, right, George? You're kind of familiar.
Yes.
So so it's a little different, but it was very speedy getting into the through that whole check-in process, the metal detectors, the bag checks, all that was really fast. They checked our passports. We walked right on. It was very, very easy. And I'm telling you, the minute we stepped on the boat, I was blown away because You get on, and George, you know this. You step right into the boat, and there's all these cast members lined up. And the guy, when I walked up, the cast member asked me, "What's your last name?" I think he said, or "What family is this?" I would tell him my family, and he had the mic. He would introduce us to the entire ship. Welcome, the OG family. You know. I was like, oh my God, like right out the gate, the customer service was like blowing my mind. I did not expect that. Not at all.
And that's something that I have to keep on relating to people with the Disney Cruise Line is no matter what tier you are staying on that ship, whether you are staying in a basic stateroom, whether you're staying in a stateroom with a veranda, a deluxe stateroom, concierge, which I've had tried every level just to get a sense of like, is there a difference? You know, but you really get the Disney difference on the ship. So no matter what tier you are staying in, you still get that high quality level of service from the cast members.
Yeah, it was very high, and from the minute we stepped on the ship, it started immediately. It was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, the check-in process at the port, getting onto the boat, very easy, very speedy. We weren't sitting in like a queue forever. Very expedited, extremely expedited process.
Nice. And I am glad that you got to experience for your first time on a Disney cruise, one of the OG ships,
Yeah.
you know, the Wonder, because that way it's a different feel when you go on the newer ships. They're more chic and kind of Art Deco sort of thing, where the original ships have that classic, I don't want to say Disney because it's not like thrown in your face, but it just has like a different level of the way the ships are built now. So I'm glad for your first time you got to experience the Wonder, for which actually holds one of my favorite restaurants on board, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But so as far as you stayed in the concierge level, so how was that as far as like meeting with the cast members, your room, like how was that for you?
It was phenomenal. Once we got on the ship, we had lunch. We got on the ship around like noon, I think it was, or something like that. And we had lunch at Triton's. Okay. And Triton's is a Little Mermaid themed restaurant. Very, very nice. Kind of reminds me of like the old school, like Cove Bar kind of aesthetics, right? That kind of like under the sea vibe, but very subtle, very classy. I really, really enjoyed it. So basically we had lunch. Our concierge team came over, introduced themselves to us, basically said that we're going to be with you the whole time. If you need anything, let us know. Again, A+++ customer service right out the gate. We had Angeline, who was from Zimbabwe, by the way, and she was unbelievable. We're going to get into the cast, but I'm just telling you, Angeline, she came over, started talking to us from concierge, and Mariella, another fabulous cast member from the concierge, she came over, also talked to us. So that was kind of like the start of the trip. We had lunch. The concierge came over, introduced themselves to us, and from there, that just kind of kicked everything off.
And how was your room for the concierge level?
It was really nice. It was, let me go ahead and share it with you guys. I have some pictures. Here's one thing about like, I'm not going to bore everybody with like family photos and stuff, because that's not why, you subscribe to the channel, but I want to give everybody at home kind of an idea though, of like what this experience is, So this was, Oh,
and I'm sorry, OG, just to confirm. Now, this was a 4-night or a 5-night?
This was Monday through Friday. So what would it be? 4 nights?
So it'd be 4. Yeah. So
4 nights, 5 days.
It'd be a 4 nights, 5 days. And this was out of San Diego to Mexico.
Cabo,
correct?
Mexico. That is correct. So this was like the view from our room. I mean, it's just absolutely breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. Look at this. I mean, it's surreal. It's absolutely surreal. And this is the thing I love about this cruise. And this is the thing I really wasn't expecting, right? It's like you go in the ship, right? And in the ship, you have like the really manufactured kind of theme park experience. You got the characters and the, kind of the magical carpeting with the little stars and all that. Very, very typical kind of Disney theme park. Then you go into your room or you go onto the balconies and you look outside and you have these majestic views of the ocean, of whatever. I mean, Cabo, whatever it is that you're passing by, you get these majestic views, this kind of like, just like these, oh my God, awe-inspiring views of nature. And it really is kind of like this coupling of like this Disney theme park experience with the wonder of our natural world, which is like, you can't get more Disney than that, right? Because, you know, Walt was all about the natural world. I mean, all those true life adventure things he did on TV and everything. This is really the quintessential Disney experience. It really, really is. And people think like, oh, well, you need Mickey Mouse and Minnie and Chip and Dale to have the Disney experience. Not really. Sitting out there on the balcony, I felt that Disney DNA because of knowing how Walt was and how curious and how much he loved this stuff, you know, our natural world and all that. It connected me to Walt, even not having the characters or the Disney stuff around me. These kind of views felt very Disney to me, if that makes sense.
I have some video of your room, OG. If you want me to play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Play it without the music. This comes to us from Disney Travel Professionals YouTube channel.
That's it.
That's it. The accommodations look absolutely stunning and
Incredible.
If the service is even half this good, I mean, I I can only imagine how well that is. I mean, I have heard for years that the Disney Cruise Line, at least today, in kind of the modern era of the Disney company, is like that old school level of quality and service that you would have seen from even the parks division back in like the 70s or 80s. Like it's another level. It's at a different place than what we currently experience at the parks. And in terms of the accommodations, I can definitely see it's like, whoa, that's pretty nice. But I have heard nothing but really, really outstanding things, honestly, from the cast members who work these vessels. I mean, it's just from stem to bow, really, really the best quality of service that you can get from the American company outside of Tokyo. But maybe that's not even true anymore.
Yeah, and if you could pause it real quick here, Dre.
Let's go back here.
Okay, right there. The thing I loved, this, by the way, this is the room that I slept in. My sister was in there with me as well, but this room is really, really super cozy. It's small, which is weird because you think a claustrophobic guy like myself wouldn't want to sleep in a small space. I don't know. It didn't bother me at all, and it was very cozy in here. But the thing that I really appreciated about the whole decor and aesthetics of these rooms, look on the walls.
Yeah,
it's all John Hench artwork. It's all those all the concept art for like the submarine voyage, and they have there was like Epcot stuff in there. I love that because it's so easy nowadays for Disney just to sort of automatically go to the IP to make this the Incredibles or something, right?
Yeah.
And this was like, this is one of those things where it kind of reminded me of like the old school Disneyland hotel from like the 90s or something that had the artwork from the parks and all that on the wall, the concept art. I know they have a little bit of that still, I think, at Disneyland Hotel, but it was much more prevalent back in the day, less of an IP focus. And this room really did that to the umpteenth degree. You know, everything in here, it was like, I think there was a few pictures of like Walt Disney. We had the John Hench artwork all over the place. It was like really nerdy. It was pretty nerdy. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
And it's really cool that they've embraced that, like you said, the concept artwork, you know, that kind of what is it? That kind of a little esoteric DNA of the parks division that maybe not a lot of people would necessarily know, at least now, maybe that's John Hench artwork, but it's still you can still appreciate it even if you don't know what it is, because I mean, he was just an incredible artist just himself, but to kind of infuse that for guests who know, very cool, very special.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. I you know, the thing is, was staying in this room and everything, it was funny because I found myself constantly, what's the word for it? it's like, and this is gonna sound really weird. The room and the balcony and the view was enough for me. If I did literally nothing else, but stayed in the room, relaxed, went on the balcony, watched the Pacific Ocean, just kind of hung out, I would be completely content. And now everyone's mileage varies with that, right? Look at that view. I mean, that's the balcony. It's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. But everyone's mileage varies, right? Because when I go even to the theme parks, when I go to Disneyland, I'm kind of in the same kind of mindset, that same kind of headspace where like just being there is good for me. I can sit on a bench for 8 hours and be perfectly happy. If I have people that want to go on rides, I can do that, right? I'm good either way, but I just love the atmosphere. And when it comes to the theme parks, and when it came to the ship, it was the same thing. Just being there, just being in the room, looking out over into the ocean was just enough for me. I didn't have to go downstairs and take a million photos with Mickey or anything like that to be happy. I was good in my room. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's a completely different feel from the theme parks, and it's something that is you can't really. You can try to describe it to someone as much as you want, but once they experience it, then they would know what you're talking about, because you're just like wrapped up in this whirlwind of, as we had mentioned, the service is just beyond phenomenal. And it's like the Disney Cruise Line ships are like stuck in this time capsule that is what we're used to getting service with Disney on all four squares of the company, which unfortunately may not be what you get in today's time, but you still get that off of the Disney Cruise Line ships. Now, kind of speaking to the cast members, can you discuss a little bit about that? Because I know from a personal standpoint that the cast members that we've met on the ship come from all parts of the globe. Yeah. You will meet my masseuse was from Iceland, and my housekeeper was from Holland, and it was like you get this array of diverse people. But what's so unique with them is they become your best friends while you're on this journey, because they literally follow you through the beginning and the end. And when I say that they hold your hand all the way through, they really do.
No, they do. No, you're right. And it sounds cheesy. Like, we kind of always mock how Disney does this whole thing with, hey, friends at the parks and all that. And it seems kind of fake and phony a little bit, right? We can kind of all agree on that.
Yeah, because you just meet them and you're randomly encountering them throughout your day.
Yeah. Hey, friends, it's just kind of, I don't know. And so, but with the cruise line though, it actually feels like that though. Like George said, it actually feels like that. Like our concierge team approached us. Like I said, the minute we walked on the boat, when we were having that first lunch at Triton's, they came up and introduced themselves, and they're with you the entire time until you leave, until you check out. Yeah. And they're exceptional. I mean, they're absolutely exceptional. The two gals that were helping us the most, Angeline, and like you said, very international staff, George. Angeline was from Zimbabwe. A+, phenomenal. She was incredible. And Mariella, I believe she was from Romania, if I'm not mistaken. These two gals, it was seriously the best customer service I've ever had. Like, I don't remember any other experience, Disney or otherwise, where I experienced this level of customer service. And the whole way through, it felt like they were friends. They'd come into the room maybe to give us a menu or whatever it was, and they would stay for a half an hour and kind of talk and make us feel at home. It really did feel like they were friends on the ship. They were our friends. It wasn't a cast member anymore. Angeline and Mariella, they were our friends, and they were visiting us from time to time. It was an incredible, like almost surreal kind of experience with those cast members. Absolutely. I mean, and that was the same experience you had, George, with this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was, and we actually have, and I should have thought of finding those photos, and I could have. We literally, it's a tradition of ours. At the end of our cruise adventure, we always take photos with our team that we personally have. When it's our mousekeeper, our dining crew, the cruise director, we always get photos with them, because as you had mentioned, it's like by the time you get to that point, it's almost like you're, and again, as you had mentioned, OG, it's kind of cheesy. It's like you're almost kind of sad to say goodbye to them. because it's like you gain like a friendship with them,
Yeah.
and it's like you don't really get that necessarily with the parks. It's on a different, complete level.
No, you're right. I was sad. I was really sad leaving. Number one, because I just had a fantastic time with my family. And I do want to say one thing before I even go any further. My mom is absolutely incredible. My mom, she really went all out with these reservations and the room and all that. And seriously fortunate to have my mom. I love my mom. And she really put together an amazing trip. I just wanted to say that right off the gate. But yeah, it was sad. It was sad leaving these cast members, leaving, Angeline and Mariella and Andy. They were so fantastic. It was sad leaving them and like having to say goodbye because you don't know when you're going to come back. And even when you do return, are you necessarily going to get them? You're right, George. It was a little heartbreaking.
It's kind of interesting. Shout out to Mama OG there. I love that.
Yes.
That is great stuff. Apparently, she put together a wonderful excursion. So
she did.
That is fantastic. I have heard for years that the relationship that you cultivate with these cast members is it's much more intimate than you would necessarily expect from Disney, even from staying at resort hotels, maybe on property and so forth. When you're assigned someone for the length of your stay like that in these kind of key areas and key roles, and you kind of develop this friendship with them, like as you described. I've heard it's very kind of it's part of the transcendence of these cast members from just about any place else. Like you said, parks or otherwise, Disney or otherwise. It's just on a different level. And I'm really, really relieved to hear that level of service that I had heard so much about has been, from what you described, maintained.
And they get to know your personality. So like, for instance, like your wait staff, they'll automatically know what you drink after the first night that you go to dinner. Like they'll automatically bring you the drink that they know that you enjoy, or if you have a particular allergy or something that you're dislike, that they could still bring you a plate and say, you know what, this had this type of food item on it, but we know that you didn't like that, so we brought this version for you. So I mean, it's customized to you.
Wow.
That you're right, George. That happened throughout the entire trip. We went to Palo, I think on the second night. Fantastic. And again, the waiter we had, his name was Sasha, I believe. It was Sasa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it 100% correct. He was from Croatia. Again, like seriously, one of the best waiters we've ever had, Disney or otherwise.
I was going to ask you if his full name was Baron Cohen. I was going to say, get an autograph.
Right? Exactly. But he was like seriously like the best server we've ever had at any restaurant, and he would come up to the table, and he would because we went there the first night, and then we went there again a few days later for brunch. Okay, so after we had that first experience at Palo, the next time we went there, like a day or two later for brunch, he remembered all of it. Oh, okay, Christopher, you know what? You like sparkling water, right? Okay, let me get you a sparkling water. We'll get that out the gate. And I mean, he just remembered everything we ordered, like you said, the allergies and our preferences, what we like, what we don't like. I mean, it was just incredible. And this guy would, like, the minute we walked in, right, for Palo, and I don't know if this happened with you, George, but the minute we walked into that restaurant, he's guiding us to our booth. And he's giving us history in detail on the restaurant, the lamps, the lighting,
the winery. I loved. They gave you a mini tour before you even got sat down at your table, and it's like it was perfect. And then I do know, I don't know if this happened with you, but the chef actually came out to us at the very end of the meal. He introduced himself, and that happened with both of us at both Paolo and Remy, for which was actually kind of very interesting that when it did at Remy, the chef actually looked like Gusteau. Go figure.
That's funny. Well, and here's the thing too that's interesting, right? Because you can hire people. This is the amazing thing about the cast on the Disney cruise, right? Mm-hmm. You can, as a company like Disney, you can hire people, you can hire anybody, and you can tell them to fake it. You know what? This is Disney. You got to smile. And you can fake a smile and kind of go through the motions, right? The thing I love about the cruise is that whoever's in charge of the hiring did a really good job at like they weren't just hiring people and then training them how to be nice. They were hiring people based on like they can sense, okay, this person is charismatic. This person is an extrovert. This person knows how to talk to people. This is their personality. So it comes off very natural. It's not like a person that you have to train.
Sugarcoat. It wasn't sugar-coated where it's like, hi, welcome to the Disney Cruise Line. How can we make it? It was more organically and that's where it became more of a friendship because it was like you have that organic conversation with them. It's like they already knew you before they even got to know you. It's like a psychological mind-blown thing, and it's interesting.
Well, yeah, because these people, it's not like you're training someone to be nice. These people are genuinely charismatic, nice people.
Yeah.
So, like you said, George, it's very organic. It's like, it's like it's hard to even explain, but like
it is, and that's what I just got done saying it, and that's why it's so hard to put into words. But it's like when you have that experience, then you get it.
Right.
You know exactly how it is. And every single time at the end of our cruise, they give you like a pamphlet for a survey and you can give tips. Every single time we have always gone above and beyond to give our service and wait staff extra than what they are already getting as part of our package, because when they go above and beyond, they deserve that tip. And I can honestly say, and I'm not just saying this to be biased because I'm a Disney freak at heart, that there is not one survey that I have done that had any negative impact on our trip whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I can't think of anything in terms of the staff and everything. It was really, really flawless. Now I wanted to show you guys just a couple of videos real quick, because I talked earlier in the show about how like just the wonder and the beauty and the majesty of like just the natural world around you while you're on this cruise, right? And how it really felt so Disney, even though it technically wasn't Disney branding, obviously.
Sure.
I'm going to show you a couple of videos that were very interesting. All right, here we go. Okay, and I'm going to play these, and I can zoom in too as I go, because I know that to give a little context, our room was like on the 8th floor, so we were pretty high up. So when I'm filming some of this stuff, there's a little bit of a distance, so things are kind of small, but I can zoom in. But this happened on our way to Cabo, Mexico. And me and my mom were out on the balcony. We're just looking over the edge, kind of like enjoying the view. And there was this amazing school of dolphins. Go ahead and play it. Give me just a second. Give me just a moment.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible, dude.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. They're just following the ship. All these dolphins.
And you can't get that type of level in the theme parks, unfortunately. So it's like it's an extra, as you had mentioned, OG, it's an extra part of just watching nature. And that was a big part of Walt, how he did his nature documentaries. And it's so on top of your vacation of actually just being on a Disney cruise ship, you get all this included with your package.
Right. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And then later on, this was actually at Cabo at the port. We saw this little guy. And he was just playing right next to the boat, this little seal. Wow. I mean, it was just, and look how blue that water is, by the way, compared to California water. Isn't it?
Yeah. Wait till you experience the Bahamas and Castaway Cay. The water is even bluer than that.
Oh yes,
it's incredible. Yes. And this was when we got, speaking of Cabo, when we got there, you had to take a tender boat to the port. So this was us kind of pulling away from the Disney Wonder towards the Cabo port. And this really gives you a great sense of the scale of this thing.
Wow.
Look at them. I mean, this is freaking crazy.
And just think that ship is the smallest out of them all.
It's the smallest now.
Oh my God!
By quite a bit from what I hear.
Yeah. And the reason why that they did that is so that this particular ship can fit through the Panama Canal for the 14-night Panama Canal cruises.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Interesting.
But you see the special yellow that they use for those life rafts and everything. George, I'm sure you know the story well, but
yes.
They had to get special approval in order to have it be that color, that kind of Mickey shoe shade of yellow right there in order to match the ship, and they actually got that approved. So that is their own branded color of safety vessel on the side there.
It took some convincing with the Coast Guard.
Yes, I have heard. John Henge features that prominently in his book. Getting that approval process and going that whole thing. But just like the design of the ships, it's kind of like you said, George, a time capsule, right? Michael Eisner getting into this game for the first time, obviously, and the decisions that they made back then in terms of the design and in terms of some of the features and so forth, they have just become so iconic now, and they've just become so ingrained into the psyche of cruisers all over the world that it was a little bit of it took a little people by surprise with some of the decisions that they made with the Wish, but a lot of that DNA is still present. Another thing too I wanted to mention was we all know about Disneyland Park President Matt Ouimet, right?
Yes.
In the lead up to the 50th anniversary celebration at Disneyland back in 2005, right? He came from the cruise line. That's where he was brought out from. So, from what I understand, a lot of the things that he cultivated and he kind of polished, let's say, when it comes to the level of service, the amenities, and so forth. A lot of those things have been maintained. It's glad to see. It's good to see that they have. But these views, OG, I must say, are absolutely out of this world.
It's incredible. It's surreal. It's absolutely surreal looking out and seeing this stuff. It blew me away. It really did.
And it's actually funny that you took a picture of this exact spot, not necessarily in Mexico, but actually on the ship, because this particular location on the ship is because we did a big family cruise back in 2017. And this is where my mom and her boyfriend sat. And she said, again, as you had mentioned, OG, if she did nothing else, she just sat on the deck chair, just looking out in the view, and she said, "This is all I need."
Yeah. Right. That's where I was at. I didn't need anything else, right? Because, to be honest with you, I can see Mickey at the parks. I have a pass. I'm there all the time, I can see Mickey and Minnie and Chip and Dale at the parks. This kind of stuff, though, you don't see every day. And so I just wanted to soak all this in, I just thought it was just absolutely breathtaking. It was incredible. I mean, the views, and this was actually the night we went to Palo, because Palo's at the back of the boat, and this is kind of like a shot of the back of the boat. Just gorgeous views.
Just incredible. Just that horizon line.
Yeah, I was just going to say the horizon. That you can, if you can get the opportunity to be at the precise moment when the sun is rising and when the sun is setting on the ship, and you could be up at the top deck and get a video or a photo, it is one of the most breathtaking visuals you will ever see in your entire life, no matter where your port of call is, whether it's in the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Mexico, if you're going to Hawaii, when you get that sunrise and sunset shot, it's perfect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, every shot's gorgeous. I mean, I was sitting there just on my phone, just snapping away constantly, because it was just everything was just so beautiful,
Yeah.
Yep. Now, we had talked a little bit about Palo. Now let's dive into one of my very favorite features of a Disney cruise, and that's the food. Now, what's very unique about the Disney Cruise Line is they have what's called the rotational dining, and along with your wait staff, they follow you to each restaurant each night, and depending on how many nights that you're staying on the ship, you get a different restaurant, or sometimes you can repeat a restaurant, but it's an entirely different menu, and depending on the theme of the night. And so with the Wonder, you have Animator's Palate, which is on the first 4 ships, but it's a different rendition on the Magic and the Wonder than it is the Dream and the Fantasy. The Magic and the Wonder, it's more based off of all of Disney animation, where the Dream and the Fantasy, it's more like a Turtle Talk with Crush on the seas. Then you have Triton's, which OG had mentioned earlier. That's where they had lunch on their first day. And then, of course, one of my favorite restaurants on a Disney cruise ship is Tiana's Place. And this restaurant is so upbeat. It's so entertaining. You have jazz playing. You have Tiana and Lewis coming out. They incorporate the guests with this big Mardi Gras parade. Right. And then the food is just awesome. The decor, the look of the restaurant, it actually feels like you're going into a New Orleans restaurant. And so I wanted to get your take on that, OG. Did you get the same feel that I did when I first entered Tiana's, and then just your overall with the dining?
Yeah, it's funny. I did get the same energy from Tiana's, and it's interesting to me because there were a couple of things that happened on the ship where being on the ship added to the theming of the experience, and Tiana's was one of them. Tiana's, if I'm not mistaken, is in the back of the ship. So, right, George, is in the back, right?
It's in the back because Triton's is in the front.
Okay, so yeah, Tiana's is in the back. So in being in the back of the boat, you really kind of feel the boat. You know, you're really, it's kind of shaking, okay? You're really feeling it. But see, that's the thing. At face value, you would think, oh, that's going to ruin your dining experience. It's all shaky and all that. Not at all. It actually made me feel like I'm going down the bayou because you have that energy of like it's kind of shaking around. You got the New Orleans music, and it's just like it just added to the theming. And maybe I'm just a nerd, so I kind of connect these things. But that's how I felt about it. I really, really did. It was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I really feel like I'm going down the bayou, and like I'm, you know, it was raucous and like just God, the energy was like insane in there. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was just like that New Orleans flavor, like times 10.
I've heard the staff really get into it as well. They have like kind of a mini Mardi Gras celebration at the end there. I mean, it does actually look pretty phenomenal, and the theming and everything like that really kind of well done for the setting. Of course, does Tiana's Place on the Wonder, does that feature a band as well?
Yeah, we had a band, a guy who. It was kind of like there was a guy who was sitting down. He was like kind of drumming on the stool that he was sitting on. And I think there was people behind him too with like saxophones and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And they would play music from Princess and the Frog, obviously, but then they would play just more traditional jazz. They dove into some like just old school Disney stuff. Like I think they did like a song from like the Jungle Book and things like that. It was good. It was nice little entertainment while you're eating. It wasn't bad.
And the one thing that I really admired with the Princess with Tiana's Place is when you first enter the restaurant, if you look around you, it almost has the exterior of a building, her restaurant.
Right.
And but you're still in the ship.
Right.
Like when you're on the atrium of the ship and you're entering in, the outer part looks like the outside of the building, as if you're walking into her restaurant with the brickwork and everything, and then you reach the restaurant itself. Yeah, and they did it perfectly with the theming, and they didn't need no Bayou Mist.
Yeah, no, there was no mist. There was no mist on this experience, and yet they nailed it. And yet I know it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe you can have a really authentic New Orleans experience without the mist, but it happened.
Tarita Carter's not going to like that. That's not going to go over very well. But very funny, very cool.
Yeah, it was a really good experience. I like that, and it was food was good. I will say this. The food, I think Palo was my favorite in terms of the food itself.
I was just going to ask you what was your favorite restaurant as far as like food goes.
Yeah, as far as food goes, Palo was I think a notch above, and I think that's partly because that restaurant in particular is not included in your cruise. That's like something that you actually have to you pay for that meal, right? It's not like all included like Tiana's, Animator's Palate. So that was a little bit better. The other food was not bad. It would be the best way I can maybe describe it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The best way I can describe the food at like Tiana's, Animator's Palate, and Triton's would be kind of like Cheesecake Factory, maybe like that kind of level where you're not okay. It's not microwavable fast food, but it's not Morton Steakhouse necessarily. It's kind of in that in between. I would put it with a Cheesecake Factory. Now, Paulo was closer to like a Morton's. That was a step above, but the rest of the food was kind of a cheesecake level, and that's not a diss. I mean, look, you're on a boat. There's limitations. I get it, but that's kind of where I put the food in general for myself.
What did you order at Paulo?
Oh, at Paulo, what did I have? Oh, I had the steak. It was a beautiful steak. I get it medium well. I know a lot of people are like, "What are you doing?" Medium well. I like my stuff kind of well done. I got the steak. The dessert was some sort of limoncello cheesecake or something.
Cheesecake, yes, that's
like little. Yeah. Phenomenal. It's artsy. The food is kind of artsy. Like the cheesecake, you don't get like a big old it's like this long little strip and the drizzle. It's very Wolfgang Puck, right? Phenomenal. And again, our waiter Sasha from Croatia was freaking amazing. He was so funny, and just he would suggest like food items and what to pair it with and what have you. Really well done. But the steak was fantastic. Now, for the brunch, like a couple of days later at Paulo, what did I have? Oh, I had the calzone. Which is basically like a giant, best way I could describe it is a giant Italian empanada. It's an empanada full of pizza stuff, like cheese and right? That's basically what it is. Oh, it was phenomenal. It was great. Absolutely great. Great.
What would you prefer as far as like the food go? Not necessarily the experience. Do you prefer the Paulo brunch or the dinner?
Oh, you know what? I'm a simple man. I think I'm going with the brunch. I really like that calzone.
Nice.
I really like that calzone.
And I had a laugh when you said medium well, because I'm like the complete opposite. I like my meat with fur. So it's like
most people do. That's why I said it's kind of a rarity. I like mine really. I like it like the outside almost kind of burnt,
You like it cremated.
Right. But it was all the food on the ship was great. I mean, it was good. But Paulo's was best.
Did you go to the Cabanas buffet at the top of the ship?
No, we didn't. No, we had some of the stuff like on the deck by the pool, like the Pinocchio pizza.
Oh, yes, of course.
And I think there was another place that had like wraps, like Daisy's, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And they had like turkey wraps and stuff. And we did that a few times as well. Good food, good food. And again, it wasn't, none of the food on the ship was like, like cardboard or very microwaved. It was all very fresh. Even the stuff that you get like on the deck with the pool, like the Pinocchio pizza, it was pizza. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was quality though. It wasn't like, cheaply done. It wasn't like some of the stuff you kind of see in the parks that are like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was just about to say, let's give our viewers a frame of reference here, as compared to the parks. I mean, is it a step above that? Yeah, okay.
Oh, way better. Yeah, the pizza felt like real pizza. Like it wasn't like this, it would be like something
Pizza Planet pizza. Oh man.
Oh no, yeah, it wasn't anything like that. It was like so much better. This would be like if you go to like Blaze Pizza or something. Like it was. Okay. Look, it's not the fanciest thing in the world, but it's still good.
Yeah. Because I remember getting their margarita pizza actually at Cabanas, and again, it wasn't like top notch, pizza, but it was decent. But as I said, if you had to compare it to Pizza Planet or Pizza Rizzo, then it trumped that out of the water.
Yeah.
I know you're really a big animation fan, OG. So Animator's Palate, I can only imagine it was your absolute jam.
And before you get into it, OG, that this is the one of the notions that I love, the smaller ships, the magic and the wonder over even the dream and the fantasy, and that is because of this Animator's Palate, because this is the quintessential Disney animation that you don't get on the Dream and the Fantasies animators palette. And I'll let OG explain his experience with that.
Yeah, this is fantastic. This whole restaurant reminded me. It screams like Eisner era animation, which is not a bad thing. I love the Eisner era for the most part in animation, and it screams that. It's very hand drawn, classical kind of thing. It is very reminiscent of the Renaissance era. Just absolutely loved it. You walk in, the lighting is just insane. First thing when you sit down, they give you this like template, right, on a piece of paper. It's a template, and it's basically a body. It's a circle and a body and legs and arms, and they tell you to draw your character within those spaces. So you got to draw your head, your body, your arms, and your legs. So we did that. I'll show you what they basically do is once you draw it, they animate it and they play it all over the restaurant. And I heard about this and I was like, how are they going to do this? How are they going to animate it? Is it going to look really cheesy? Like, no, actually it looks really, really dope. And I'll go ahead, I'll play it. I can't play the music because it's from Fantasia and we'll get copyrighted almost immediately. But it's on mute, but like I'll stop it. I'll show you which one was mine and everything. And I actually did my sister's as well. She wanted me to draw her a mini, so I made a mini for her. I made an Oswald for me, and you'll go ahead. I'll play it, and you can kind of check it out. It's pretty interesting stuff, and this is fantastic for kids. I couldn't even imagine being a kid and seeing this on the wall and everything. It must have blown these kids' minds. Absolutely. So you draw your thing. Maybe halfway through the dinner, this comes on. And these are all the drawings from everybody at the restaurant.
Wow.
So, and you can tell some of these are from kids. They're just scribbles.
Sure.
But it's pretty well animated though. Like they have life and they have movement to it. And they kind of they go with it, right? And then they showcase every single drawing. And you'll see mine and my sisters. We're Oswald and Minnie. You'll see them. That's somebody else. That Mickey is not us.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all the people in the restaurant. They drew all these.
That's something.
It's pretty interesting stuff, man. I mean, right? It's pretty well animated. I was kind of surprised by this.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some effort applied here.
There's my sister's Minnie Mouse.
There it is. Wow.
Very interesting.
I've heard about this, and I've almost never seen it really. This is quite it's kind of hard to find videos on featuring the cruise ships and so forth on YouTube.
Is that your Oswald?
That's my Oswald. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, there he is. But see, this is the interesting thing. This is kind of like the introduction where they trot out all the designs, right? Mm-hmm. But it gets more and more complex as it goes on. They like mix it in with like animation and other things, like from the movies. Wow. And things like that. So this kind of just introduces everybody. That one looks like Hulk, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think this is really cute. You can tell. I mean, some of these kids, the scribbles and all that. This has got to be really great for them to see.
But it's really cool that they have kind of they made it personal. They made it a very personalized experience. People kind of look forward to it throughout the thing. And it's a gimmick, but magical in its execution. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really.
Oh, sorry. What makes this restaurant so unique is when you start out, everything is pretty much black and white.
Right.
And as you go through your courses, they bring up the color. And I think it's very interesting of how they do that in the restaurant, where the color is actually already there, but they have special lighting that they switch from the front part of the restaurant and they move it back. So as they do that, then the real color comes through. They're like these little grid panels that are on the walls. But also before you have like the finale of the restaurant, so to speak, I love the storyline that it takes you through with all the different characters, where you have the happy moments, you have the sad moments, you have the villain moments, you have the romance moments, and then you have the big grand finale, and
Right.
where all the wait staff come out in their colored vests and everything. It's just a different type of experience that, again, this is included in your package. So,
Right.
and that's another notion with the food is, unless you're dining at Palo or Remy or the upscale signature restaurants, that once you pay for your cruise package, all food, you could pretty much order whatever you want, how much of it you want at any given time, and the food is your playground.
From what I understand too, if you really do like a particular item at a certain restaurant, I believe as long as it's not Paulo or Remy, the server will bring it to you, because a lot of this is made in the same kitchen, and so it's one of those benefits of having this kind of very personalized relationship with your server.
Absolutely.
And this is what I was talking about, how it kind of gets a little more complex. It starts to interweave with some of the animation, and
Wow.
It's really clever concept. And it very much feels like a world of color and physical form. Like George, you kind of talked about that, how it's like this show. It feels like that, like almost like World of Color, the dining experience, or Phantasmic, the dining experience. Is all the projections and the lighting. It's just.
See, now, if this was included in a Phantasmic or World of Color package where you get a guaranteed seat for the show, but you get this, I'd gladly pay the money for it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is great. I don't know why, and I was mentioning this to my sister, I don't know why they have not replicated this restaurant somewhere else. This would be fantastic in Hollywood land at DCA. Why not bring it to DCA? I guess maybe they want to keep it exclusive for the cruise lines, but man, even some iteration or some version of this.
Well, they did it with Turtle Talk with Crush, because Turtle Talk with Crush was only at Epcot and DCA, but they moved it to the Dream and the Fantasy.
Yeah, they did it the other way, but they didn't do it, the other way. I suppose, maybe one of the reasons is because everybody is seated at the same time and everything, and this kind of show takes place with this large gathering of people, and it's not run like a traditional restaurant that you would have in the park, so maybe that's why they haven't replicated. But we've seen some signature dining experiences like Beast Castle and so forth. I think you have tapped into something very interesting, OG. It's like they should lean into this kind of concept more. Maybe done a different way, like you said, or maybe different themes and so forth. But like a dining experience, it's one of the things you definitely take away from a cruise line experience. Why couldn't you replicate some form of that for the park experience to make it even your day even more magical? I think it's something.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too, is like when it comes to like to kind of touch upon the customer service again, and how very intimate it feels on this cruise, and part of that is just the experience of being on a ship, so it's unique to that kind of situation that you're in.
Sure.
But I wish Disney would sort of incorporate this into some other things. Like it's harder necessarily like park wide necessarily, because that's not really an intimate experience. But why can't Disney incorporate some of this customer service, this intimate customer service in the hotels, where you have these cast members where you feel more like you're staying with friends and they come to your room, and that same kind of energy? I wish they can kind of duplicate that at the hotel at least. I know it's hard theme park wide maybe, but in the hotels they can definitely do that, and I think that would go such a long way. I don't know. It would just be absolutely incredible.
From what I have heard, it used to exist back in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, it really did used to. I mean, I remember stories about Disney cast members were trained at a certain point not to say no, right? And they took that so seriously that I remember this one story, I believe it was of the Contemporary, where a guest came in and says, "Hey, I want to buy that couch," in the lobby, and it's like, well, and it's like you can't say no, and sure enough, they sold it to the guy. I mean, he bought it, he walked away with it. So, I believe the parks. I mean, I was hearing this story from, who was I hearing it from? It was Dusty. Yeah, he was saying that you sit at the Cafe Orleans, for example, and if you wanted, like a churro or a pretzel, they go out and get it for you and bring it back and serve it to you that way. With your meal. Let's say you had a picky eater like a child, for example, who wanted that, they would actually go ahead and do that. And over the years, some of that has been stripped back, and it's really there is this big delta between the customer service that you experience in the parks and at the Disney Cruise Line, between them as a result. And it's I do wish that there would be a little bit more, Chapek always talks about activating the synergy machine.
Right.
That's an element of synergy that I'd like for them to exploit there.
Well, perfect example of just the above and beyond, the inability to say no.
Yeah.
My mom really likes Ruffles, Ruffles chips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you order if you order a kid's thing, like if you order a grilled cheese, they'll put some Ruffles on the side, but they don't sell individual little mini bags of Ruffles for your room, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do room service, you get a grilled cheese sandwich for your kid, you'll get a few chips on the side, but you can't get the bag. Well, we told our concierge rep, Mariella, who again is absolutely fantastic. Mm-hmm. We told her, is there any way we can get Ruffles chips in the room to just enjoy, to snack on, right? Without it being part of a meal. She goes, well, we don't have the bags, but let me see what I can do for you. She goes down. Maybe 20 minutes later, Mariella comes up with a huge bag like this. Basically not there was no fancy branding on it. It said Ruffles, like an MRE, like a military ration or something.
Right. The bulk
bag kinda. Like this, right? It was all white and it said Ruffles across it, like you were like a ration, completely like a ration. And I guess you went down to the basement or something and got the wholesale bag they used to take the chips and put them on the plate for the kids' meals. Mm-hmm. She went down and got the entire bag and brought it up to our room. I mean, this is the kind of customer service. This is outside the box kind of stuff. She didn't have to do that. She could have said, you know what, we don't sell individual bags, whatever, yada, 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 and give us the whole spiel.
But unfortunately, that's what they do at the parks. Unfortunately, that's what you get the answer to. And it's the complete opposite of the cruise line. And I just wish that all the magic and the wonder of Disney can come from the cruise line to the parks, but that's just my dream. But right now it's a fantasy.
See, I know what you did there. I see what you did there.
There we go. Hang on. Do we have the, there you go. Well, so that's an interesting thing. I've heard even the concierge levels at some of these resorts aren't, I mean, they don't even hold a candle to the concierge level at the on the cruise line. So it's not just a disparity that you notice at a given price point. It's kind of division wide, which is just absolutely bizarre. I just don't. I really don't understand that. I understand there are different businesses, there are different operational realities, of course, but just like you said, OG. I mean, it's the hiring practices and so forth, getting people that are naturally exuberant or what is it? They're they go out of their way, they're naturally charismatic and so forth. I mean, it just seems like the parks, in comparison, they're just filling roles with bodies, right. and unfortunately, maybe that's a symptom of that decline there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna say I just have a quick story to tell. I know this is actually OG's trip review.
No, go ahead. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
This actually is what sealed the deal for Jess and I for the Disney Cruise Line. We went on our third Disney cruise, and it was for our anniversary. Well, there was something mixed in with the notes that they didn't get that memo when I booked the trip. So we were wondering why we weren't getting, the happy anniversary, because we had done that before. And we went to the front desk and we said, we were just curious why, and they looked on the computer, and the cast member that booked the cruise when I called, they forgot to put it in the notes, and they apologized profusely And we said, don't worry about it. They said, it's fine. We were just curious and we didn't think nothing of it. We didn't want nothing, what have you. At the end of the cruise, the last night when we walked in, we had a booklet sitting on our bed and we opened it and it was a photo of me and Jess that we had one of the professional photographers take on the ship, but we didn't order it. Disney had did it, and it said in gold plating, happy anniversary, with all the character signatures around it.
Wow.
That is the moment, even though we took 3 cruises, that was the moment that honestly, both her and I got choked up because it was that moment to say, you know what? When they say the difference is Disney, that is the Disney difference when you go on a Disney cruise.
Oh yeah, it was exactly, and that's the kind of energy throughout the whole trip. Is that kind of stuff that they're constantly like surprising you and like doing. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. What I really want to see Disney do is, because you have all these cast members, whether they be frontline cast members on the cruise or behind the scenes, middle management, all them. The cruise line cast is so accustomed to this top tier customer service. I would love to see if Disney could maybe use the cruise line as a starting point for a lot of these managers and a lot of these casts, get them accustomed to that A+ customer service. And then after so long working the cruise line, you go into the parks. So now you have a seasoned person who's used to that top tier customer service, now leaving the cruise line and going to Disneyland. Well, that level of service is going to follow them. Now they know, now this is what they do. This is their day to day. And when they go to Disneyland and they're your waiter at Hungry Bear or whatever, they're going to bring that cruise line customer service to the park. I wish they would utilize that more. I wish they would bring more of that those cruise line cast members over to the parks. And I think that would make a huge difference, because whatever they're doing on the cruise line, who was ever in charge of hiring, they seem to know how to hire, and it works very well.
Well, we saw that with Matt We Met, right? That was the example that I brought up earlier. With when Matt We Met was brought to the Parks division in the form of Disneyland Resort president, he infused a little bit of that. Not all of it, obviously. Couldn't, I mean, these are huge cultural shifts, of course, and there were some operational obligations going on there, but it was like emphasis on show, emphasis on service, and Disneyland really benefited from that for at least a decade. Yeah, I mean, it really, he really did, inculcate a little bit of that culture there. I would agree with you, OG, if we can get some. If that culture that really is a part of the Disney Cruise Line experience in regards to cast members, if we could somehow bring that to the parks and really cultivate it on that level in that way, whether it be bringing people maybe cultural ambassadors or something to the parks, right, or having people stay on a Disney Cruise Line just to kind of know, like, hey, this is the standard we want to set going forward here. I think even like these kind of price increases that we hear about right now, right, or some of these things that people are like, not big fans of. I think they would be taken differently if even the level of what is it, just cast member quality was maybe improved. That's not to say that the cast members at the parks don't do, they don't have quite a bit on their plate at the moment. They absolutely do, and they do a phenomenal job given the circumstances. But it really goes to show you how the quality of cast member really does have a profound effect on you, both negatively and positively.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you have to be able to, it's kind of like here on the channel, right? Like when we pick a guest, we have to be able to find someone that has that natural kind of ability to kind of talk and convey and articulate. It's almost like you can't really train somebody to do that. Somebody either has that thing or they don't. And the cruise lines have a real knack for picking those people with the it factor. They have a whole cast of people that are like the life of the party. 1,000 or whatever cast members are there. It's the life of the party. Oh, it looks like I just froze.
Oh, there you go.
I think you're back.
There.
And I was just going to say really quick, OG, and that's where Epcot as a park kind of suffered during the pandy, because just
Yeah.
like the initial notion of the cruise ship, when you have the cultural difference of the people
Cultural
surrounding
ambassadors.
you kind of lost that in interpretation of that within World Showcase.
Yeah.
And so if you can get anything out of the cruise line that's in the parks, it would be World Showcase at Epcot. That would be your closest point to it.
Wow. Wow.
And one thing I would want to show, kind of like to close out the conversation a little bit, just because it's like, hey, look, the fireworks are the park's kind of kiss goodnight, the goodnight, the goodbye. This really impressed me as well. I wasn't expecting that.
The only cruise line that does fireworks at sea. And as a little tidbit, yes, and as a little tidbit, you might not know this, the fireworks is actually pellets of fish food. So when it lands into the water, it feeds the sea creatures.
No fucking way, dude. Are you serious?
Yes.
That was so funny. Dude. And that's the insane level of customer service. They're even thinking about the fish's experience. Like, my God.
That's why you got those dolphins on the side there. You don't think that was a little bit of a Disney enhanced magic? I don't think so. They're looking for the food there.
They know the ship. It's like, oh, it's like the blue, the yellow, the white, and the red. That's a Disney cruise ship. We're going over there. It's like fuck Carnival.
Oh man, I did not know that. And it was funny. We were actually talking about. I was talking to my mom about that. We were like, yeah, this is beautiful. And I'm going to show the clip in a minute. But we're like, this is beautiful out in the high seas. You know. No grifting, by the way, in the high seas. It was really nice.
Oh, that is. Cap John D. I hope you're watching that one.
Yeah, it was really nice. But but out there on the water, and just we were talking about how like the fireworks, kind of like the pellets and everything landing in the ocean. That's just unfortunate. It's probably not too great for the fish. That's so funny you mentioned that they even thought about that. Absolutely incredible. But I'm going to go ahead and play. This was, again, one of those, sounds really cheesy, but it's true, one of those real magical moments where we're heading back from Cabo, and they just parked the ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and said, you know what? Let's have fireworks. Here's a little bit of a clip of it. Just incredible. They're just launching them off the ship. This is insane. This is just like, oh my God. This is what they would say, some big Mick energy, right? Some big Mick energy.
Well, we were talking about that OG, and it's like, Eisner back in his time, right? He would infuse the Mickey branding into everything, and it's like, oh, that's Disney, right? It's like put some mouse ears on it. There you go. But for some reason, when it came to, and I don't know if it was the acquisition of the Queen Mary that is infused into this as well, but just like the combination of different things that were going on at that time in the company's history, it just created this. We didn't get that many amazing things at this time, but the cruise line is definitely one of those things. It's just the perfect mix of like Big Mick energy, like you said, OG, just amazing. Kind of Eisner standard of quality of service, right? And what he wanted to do with when Disney came into an industry, just all those things wrapped up, really creates quite a phenomenal experience. George, before you close out the show, I have one more clip, but we can continue this conversation here.
Okay, cool, absolutely. You want me to share your screen now, or is it going to be?
No. We'll wait a little bit. I like the fireworks there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no,
it's so unique to actually be out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, wherever you're at, Bahamas, Caribbean, Mexico, Hawaii, and as you said, OG, they just park the ship right there, and you have a fireworks show. It's like, how and where can you ever get that experience anywhere else in the cruise line industry? You can't, you don't. It's only with Disney, folks. And I always say, yeah, it may be pricey, but I tell you what, you really bang for your buck with the Disney Cruise Line.
Oh yeah, it's worth every penny.
Get your money. Yes,
absolutely. It's worth every penny. There's no doubt about it. It's maybe even, dare I say, underpriced almost. I mean, it's Hey, JPEG. Hey, it's the price is fine. I'm just saying, JPEG. Don't take me too seriously.
Oh, gee, do not give them ideas.
No, but in all seriousness, it almost is underpriced. I mean,
And
the level of quality you get with it is insane.
And even just the uniqueness of depending on the time of season that you can go during the Halloween on the high seas, the very maritime cruises, Marvel Day at Sea, Pixar Day at Sea. I haven't seen any recently, but they used to do the Star Wars Day at Sea. But I think now that since the Wish has the like the Star Wars type of theme and everything, they kind of cut back from that, unfortunately, just like they did the Star Wars weekends at the park. So go figure.
Well, it's Star Wars and other divisions. What are you gonna do? It's not quite where you want it, right?
To be fair, the Star Cruiser modeled their rooms after the prison of the new Andor show.
That's some synergy right there, right?
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Down to the orange and white decor and everything. It was perfect.
Is the luxury experience ironic in that regard, right?
Yeah.
Is it all an inside joke? I mean, from what I understand, they try to replicate the some of the culture from the cruise into the Star Cruiser. And I don't think it.
And I'm sorry, folks,
No.
if you're gonna put out $6,000 for a 2-night experience, do yourself a favor. And this is just coming from me. Take that $6,000 and book yourself a Disney cruise.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do it. Just do it. And I'm telling you. And this is, again, I'm coming from a very nerdy perspective, but I was sitting on that balcony and they play on the TVs like Disney music and some deep cuts. I mean, I even heard music from Mary Poppins Returns from a few.
Yes.
You never hear that.
It's so surreal. I'm glad you brought that up because I actually forgot about that. Yeah, you could just be walking in the atrium or the hallways to your stateroom and you hear very subtle, as you had mentioned, like the music playing.
Right.
And that's probably the one and only time moving into the future that you'll probably hear the song Zippity Doo-Dah, because it's like I've heard it in on the ship many times. And you hear songs that you don't necessarily think. They play songs from Pete's Dragon. They play songs from Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I mean, these are movies that cuts. It really is.
Well, that's the thing. I was sitting there and I was looking out in the water, right? And out of nowhere, Steamboat Willie comes on into our room. And I'm thinking to myself, and this was like one of those nerd moments, right? I'm thinking to myself, my God, this is a cartoon from 100 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, 100 years later, I'm sitting on this massive ocean liner, this cruise ship that really, like, within those 100 years, we went from this quaint little cartoon to here I am on the veranda of this mega cruise liner, right? It kind of blew my mind how far Disney came in those 100 years. I mean, it blew my mind. It was like it was a moment right then and there going, wow.
And honestly, even just being, and as I said, depending on no matter what room you have, whether you stay in concierge, a deluxe stateroom with a veranda, just a veranda, a stateroom. There's how many different categories of these rooms. And especially if you just get a basic stateroom, the magic porthole is actually very unique where it's actually real time. So when you look out that porthole, it's digitalized, but it's actually what you're really seeing beyond. And they add different characters to the porthole at different times. It's really cool.
That's awesome, dude.
Which is a great way of utilizing some spaces that it's like, oh, we want to have a porthole, but we can't. And it's like, oh, here's what we can do. It's a little bit of a magic touch. Sorry there, OG.
Oh no, absolutely. I didn't even know they did that. I didn't know they had the digital like that. And it was funny too. Like my imagination was going wild during this whole thing, but I was like thinking to myself, and a lot of people probably don't even think about this, but I'm sitting there looking out and going, wow, I wonder if they ever have problems with like a whale, like just ramming the ship. That would not be good. Like, does that happen? Like, do whales ever attack these boats? Because I was like,
as far as I know, there was never anything recorded.
I think the natural vibrations, because whales, they have a certain a way of navigating the ocean, right? I think the natural vibrations of the ship steer them away.
I mean, if it's Carnival, who really knows? I call that the Kennedy ship because it's like no matter what, something always goes wrong with it.
Or the Carnival ship. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, how did they keep? And I wasn't scared or anything. I mean, but I was contemplating that, like, okay, we're out in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific Ocean. I'm seeing dolphins, stingrays, seals, all kinds of stuff. We even saw flying fish. Crazy. There's whales in them there water. You know, I mean, there's whales there. Like, what would, like, a whale hitting your boat would be like another cruise liner hitting your boat. It would be a disaster. But I never hear any instances of that happening, which is good. Yeah. But I was just curious, like, is that like a concern?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
is that
actually,
like
my mom had those same concerns.
Yeah.
Like because she has like those issues because she's never been on a cruise. That was her only time of being on a cruise, and that was actually on the Wonder. And she like she literally ran down the list. She was like, "Is there going to be sharks? Is there going to be icebergs? Is it going to be like?" She said, "Hey, you heard the SS Indianapolis, right? You know what happened with that."
Oh, Jesus. Man, that's.
I'm like,
that was also during wartime.
Yeah,
okay,
it's like, well, that's what I said, and that's what I said, Mom. I said, you're going like way beyond yonder.
That's so funny, dude.
She saw the Tom Hanks Pirates movie, right? She's like, "Oh no, you know, there's."
Oh no, that's what she said. She said we're not going to have like a Captain Phillips type moment where we get invaded by pirates. It's like
you're captain now. Yeah, you know that kind of thing.
And it's like, Mom, it's like relax, just shh. And just go. It's like, and she did, and she absolutely loved it, and she's actually looking forward to doing another cruise in the future from it.
Well, and here's the thing too is, and people that have been following me for a long time know I am a very claustrophobic person. I avoid elevators like the plague. Avoid them, and that was one of my concerns. And if you're claustrophobic, maybe this is, and you've never been on a Disney cruise before, maybe this will be a little peace of mind for you. But I was concerned being on this big cruise liner that the elevator aspect of it. It crosses my mind. I'm just claustrophobic. It stresses me out. I was pleasantly surprised. This ship has stairs from the bottom to the top. Yep. I mean, you can like, and that's where
you sent me that photo your first day. You said, "Thank God they have stairs."
They have stairs, and I was concerned about that being on the 8th floor. That like, for example, the Grand Californian, they have stairs as well, but it only goes to like the 3rd or 4th floor. And then once you get to a certain level, you got to take the elevator, right? Yeah, unless it's an emergency. Then going down, obviously they have stairs, but going up, they don't. The cruise ship from the bottom to the top, we were on the 8th floor, stairs all the way up.
And that's honestly how you could keep in shape, because when we're on a cruise, we really eat our butts out. And honestly, taking those stairs, you burn those calories.
Well, and it worked out for me too, because I don't know if I've even said this on video yet, but back in mid-August now, I tore my hip labrum at Costco. Okay, that's how you know you're over 40, when you tear your hip labrum at Costco. But I tore my hip labrum.
Here's your sign.
There you go. And so I've been going to physical therapy now for weeks, and I was a little bit concerned kind of skipping a week of physical therapy on the cruise. Like, how am I going to feel after? Didn't affect me at all. You know why? 8 flights of stairs all day long, 5 days a week. It was basically PT.
So wait, I have to ask you, OG. Now, did you never experienced the elevator at all, correct?
I did actually. And again, this is where the A+ customer service comes in. Our concierge lead, I guess you would say, Angeline. She was guiding us off the ship onto the tender boat to get into Cabo, right? And so she was leading a bunch of us, like other guests as well, to the tender boat down below. And so we walk over to the elevator, and there's like all of us here, and she's packing people in, dude. I mean, in the elevator, there must have been 10 people in this elevator. It's fine. You know, I'm just a weirdo. It just bothers me. She did nothing wrong, but she's packing them in. You know, go ahead, Chris. I'm like, Angeline, I got to be honest with you. I'm claustrophobic. This is not going to work for me. She goes, you know what? Wait right here. I'm going to unload everybody, and I'll come back up. It'll be just me and you going down the elevator. So you don't have to worry about that. And that made a big difference.
That's some dedication there.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And she had the solution like right out the gate. It wasn't like she didn't even have to think about, oh yeah, just wait here, and me and you will go down alone, and that way it's a little more roomy in the elevator. And I'm like, Angeline, God bless your heart. God bless you.
And the reason why I ask is because the elevator is somewhat unique on the Disney cruise ships.
Yeah.
That if you turn around and you look at the wall, which I don't know if you did, you might have just been saying like 50 Hail Marys until you reached the thing. That if you look at the walls, that it's actually Disney artwork. So depending on what location you are on the ship, if you're all the way on the bottom, it shows the Little Mermaid because you're under the sea. So as you move up further, you go on land. It may show Beauty and the Beast, what have you. Then as you get higher, it shows Aladdin and Jasmine on the carpet because you're in the sky. It shows Carl and Russell from Up with the house and everything. So I thought that was very unique of how they do even the theming with an elevator.
Elevator. Well, and that helped because it was a glass elevator, so there wasn't like I'm not in a steel box. I can see out into like the lobby. That helped me a lot. And also the fact that I was in there with Angeline, it helped because she's a cast member. She's got a walkie-talkie. If this thing stalls out, I'm with a person who's got a walkie-talkie. She's a cast member. She knows the ins and outs of this ship. She's going to get us out of that elevator immediately, as opposed to being stuck with a bunch of randos from the ship that, oh, what do we do now? We're stuck. She's going to know what to do. So I felt very safe. Very safe.
Being during your stay, being on the ship here, I kind of think, from a claustrophobic perspective, that could get a little dicey in some areas, and maybe you were thinking that maybe getting on, maybe that would be a concern. Did you ever, get that feeling of severe claustrophobia on any other part of the ship?
No, I was fine. My claustrophobia is triggered mostly by, I can be like, even the room, like that little room we stayed in was very small, very cozy. Mm-hmm. But if I know I can get out if I wanted to.
Yeah.
If I'm in a room in someone's house and the door is shut, I'm fine. Yeah. I can get out if I want to. It's just the elevator in particular is a situation where once you get in, you're at the mercy of this thing working. Mm-hmm. So I can't get out if I want to. There's no getting out if I want to. It's let's just hope the thing opens again and we can get out. So I was fine the rest of the time in our room. Totally fine, because I have access in and out. So the overall experience for me, claustrophobia wise, was fantastic. The elevator was the issue, but again, our amazing concierge team, she handled it.
See, I can't really say I had an issue with the elevator on the cruise at one point, but it was a little bit of a minor, slight mishap. I had a couple drinks after having dinner at Palate with Jess, and we decided that, after having a few drinks, don't take the steps, let's take the elevator. Well, apparently I was going to go on the elevator, but there was just one problem. The doors hadn't opened yet. So I literally walked into, not actually into the elevator. I walked into the doors of the elevator. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
So folks, if you have a couple drinks at Palo or Remy, wait for the doors to open at the elevator.
Yes. It definitely helps when you're trying to walk through if the doors are open as opposed to closed.
Yeah.
Definitely helps. Now you have a clip to share, Dre, before we go?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, now before we share that clip, I do have a little bit of breaking news actually. And this is not a joke. I know I do this sometimes as a joke. This is not a joke. Okay. From Theme Park Insider, Disneyland to resume Magic Key annual pass sales.
Oh. Okay. So this is very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll talk. We'll do a video on this for sure. I just wanted to break that little bit of news. It just came over the wire.
It just came over the wire.
The press. So we'll discuss this.
So it's so funny you say this, OJ. Before this recording started, in our pregame a little bit there, we were talking about, hey, they made a little change to the website here. Maybe it's in preparation for AP sales actually renewing.
There we go.
And we were talking about, it actually relates to this clip, funnily enough, because we were talking about specifically recessionary impacts and so forth. Where's really the company's headspace going forward as it kind of navigates these very tumultuous winds? I'm sure a lot of our viewers have seen, videos from, Braden, Mickey Views, and so forth, and maybe some other content creators going into some of the changing times within the Disney company, right? Well, that it brings us to our clip. OG, if you want to go ahead and share this real fast. This was on Valiant Renegade's channel recently, where he had WDW Pro on and Cameron Pasha on. They were talking about the state of the company, and yeah, it's a pretty crazy conversation, about 3 hours. I would definitely recommend people, listen to it, because there was some phenomenal insight here. But WWE Pro and Valiant were kind of going back and forth here about like, if there are going to be cuts, where they're going to be from. And I think WWE Pro actually says the cruise line might actually be one of them. But Valiant, Valiant disagrees though, and I thought his reasons were kind of profound here.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're going to cut on cruise ships. I don't know where they're going to cut at the parks, even though I know they will.
Cruise ships seem too lucrative to me. I mean,
yeah.
And look, I'm a guy, y'all have heard my statements on Disney. Mm-hmm. I've been on one cruise in my life, and it was on a Disney cruise ship. It was the Disney Dream. Okay. And that's my wife wanted to do. She's like, I didn't get enough Disney as a kid, so now she had to do it as an adult 15 times. Yeah. So she saved up some money, a few years ago. She's like, I really want to go on a Disney cruise. I'm like, all right, I cannot have it in me to pay for it, because it just makes me want to puke. Because I don't want to be stuck with Mickey Mouse the whole cruise. That didn't happen. It was one of the most wonderful vacation experiences of my life. Mm-hmm. The Disney portion of it is not, up your butt, in your face, 24/7 on that ship.
Yep.
The staff, like Jay talks about, like Drunk 3PO talks about, the park staff all the time are wonderful people, very professional. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes that cruise. And it was absolutely one of the best experiences I've ever had on a vacation, bar none. Disney does not need to touch those ships. They need to keep, because that is what most people feel like when they get off that boat. Yeah. It's professional, and it's amazing. The ship is spotless, bow to stern, with thousands of people on it, like every moment of the day. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
Yeah, Disney, do not touch the cruise ships.
Do
not.
Chapek, please. If you or your team are watching this, please do not touch the cruise ships.
Yeah. And honestly, this is where when you guys get a chance to watch Braden from Mickey Views, he touches upon it, that he doesn't believe also that anything of the parks division, including the cruise line, those cast members will not have their positions on freeze or cut or laid off or what have you.
I've heard that. I've heard it as well. Frontline cast members, for example, probably not going to experience any more cups. The yield management is already at the point, I think, that's where they want it. And it's a very dynamic business as well. I don't think that's going to be cut. But hey, anybody higher up there, we will see. OG, sorry about that. I do apologize.
Well, no, I was going to say, I actually did a video yesterday, and then we'll close it out. I know we're running kind of long here, but I did a video yesterday actually about this, how like the Genie Plus really bolstered that like per guest spend. And look, as much as a lot of people hate Genie Plus, that might have been the saving grace for a lot of layoffs, because the theme park division was performing very, very well in that quarterly earnings. And look, I'm not saying it's completely immune to cuts or completely immune to layoffs, but I think because of that per guest spend, which is a lot of the reason behind that is that Genie Plus element. Yeah. I think you're going to see less layoffs and less cuts than you will, say, in the studio. Right. So if there's a silver lining for Genie Plus, if you don't like Genie Plus, the silver lining might be that some cast members their jobs might be spared because Genie Plus is kind of bolstering those numbers a little bit,
Right. And as Christine Wilson-McCarthy has said before, right, there are levers they can pull with their theme park division, which I think is going to save them from cuts that maybe some of the other divisions of the actual company might actually receive. But OG, do you remember me talking about and repeating, I think ad nauseum, what instance that they would bring back annual passes? What were going to be the conditions that they would actually bring those back? It would be pulling that lever, needing those bodies if you were going to account recessionary issues.
Of course.
I think it's
coming. It's definitely coming.
It's coming.
Yep.
It's coming.
Yep. I think Disney's internal. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no. Go ahead, finish. No, sorry, I thought you were.
Oh, I think Disney's internals suggest that there might be some choppy waters on those high seas going forward.
Yes, and that's perfect because Braden's video is titled "A Storm is a Brewing" at the Walt Disney Company. So yeah, if anyone listening or watching, if you haven't seen it, definitely check out Mickey Hughes' latest video. It's a really good watch.
I want to say too, and then we got to close it out. But I want to say too, like Braden from Mickey Views gets a lot of crap from the community, and I don't really know why. I've had interactions with him via DM and what have you. He's always been like the nicest guy, very responsive. His takes on his channel and even on his Twitter, they're not like super outlandish. I don't really know why he gets the shit that he gets, but I think he's brilliant. I think he's very articulate. I don't agree with him on everything, but I really enjoy his content. So if you have not checked out Mickey Views, absolutely do so. I consider him a friend of the channel.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
100%.
And before we close this out, OG, I have one last question for you about your cruise line experience. So your last overall thoughts, just the overall experience. What are your final thoughts on it? And have you gotten bitten by the Disney cruise bug? Are you going to do future Disney cruises?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I've already talked to my mom about this. I said, Mom, we got to go back. Maybe we'll do like a springtime cruise. I said, I don't care. We can do the same cruise. We can do the Cabo one again. I don't even care. I want to go back. She's been on like the Alaskan cruise and she said, that's freaking phenomenal. I would love to try that one day. But yes, I got bit by the Disney cruise bug. Absolutely. Overall experience was really like even Valiant said here. I mean, it's a near flawless experience. It really is. It's Disney, yes, but it's not. It's done in a very classy way, if I can say, a very classy way. And I love how it almost kind of pays homage to Walt Disney and his philosophy and his curiosity with how it sort of the star of the show is nature's wonderland, so to speak, right? And that is cool. Very, very classic Disney. And that's why I like Nat Geo. That's why I think out of everything that they bought, that they inherited from Fox, I think Nat Geo is the one thing that actually fits really well in Disney. It harkens back to those true life adventures and all that, right? So I love it.
All 71 billion of it.
All 71 billion of it, right? But the Nat Geo stuff is what really makes the most sense for Disney. And with the cruise lines, with the nature and all that, it's just such a great homage to Walt and what he loved. And I just absolutely fell in love with this cruise experience. I again want to thank my mom so much for planning it and kind of getting a great room and everything. I am super blessed. Mama OG really did come through, and it was a fantastic experience. And just spending time with family. We had a rough year. I'm not going to get into it like here, but we did have a kind of a rough year as a family. And it was really nice to kind of get away for a few days, and just truly, truly blessed. A+ experience, 13 out of 10. Highly recommend.
Awesome. And Mr. Vash Sky, I do know that you have not yet experienced a Disney cruise. From seeing this and hearing this, are you considering ever, dipping your toes, so to speak, no pun intended, in the Disney Cruise Line pool?
I've considered it for quite a while, and I think this makes a stronger case for that, for sure. Sure. I don't know when it will come, or in what form, or what destination, or whatever. That Alaska one sounds phenomenal, by the way.
I'm not going to say anything too much until it is set in stone, but I may have that answer for you. And
what?
As time comes on a little bit, we got one trip coming up next year, but that is setting the stage for something a little bit bigger afterwards.
See, George is like the channel's Oprah. Look under your seat. You got car keys to a brand new Tesla. You're amazing, George. You are absolutely amazing. I mean, this is unbelievable. Unfreaking believable.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So after next year's Walt Disney World trip, because I want you guys to really get an immersive experience of Walt Disney World and Florida and have you. After we do that, Jess and I have something else on the horizon for the following year. And let me just put it to you this way: you both might be seeing Castaway Cay a little bit sooner than later.
Oh, bring your swim trunks, Dre.
This is wow. Breaking news, guys.
Breaking news.
Look. Listen, if it does indeed happen, right? I won't put any pressure on you, of course. But if it does indeed happen, that would be absolutely. It's just something I never thought I would experience. Let's just say that. So.
I will say that it would be actually be my first Disney cruise back in. At that point, it would be 6 years. So if I'm going to go back on, we got to celebrate this special occasion. And what better way to do it? I have to invite my brothers, my family. You have to.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
And yes, Chewy, he
agrees.
could come. He could come along too. He could bring all the drink. He could supply the drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. He says thank you.
And with that being said, let's close this out, folks. Starting with producer Dre, Dr. Dre the DA, Veet. Tell them where they can find you at.
I'm still choked up. Yeah, we got to close out the show because George is going to have us go to, I don't know, Tokyo or something. It's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. Again, thank you for considering us, George. Seriously, it is quite magical. The little community that we've built up here, the family that we built up. Absolutely fantastic. If you guys want to follow me, go ahead and do so at Fash Sky right there. Just go ahead and type it in right there for, as Christine Wastelands McCarthy would say, for all the
robust
discussion right there. Yeah, phenomenal stuff. Oh, gee, do you have the Walt? I just love hearing that guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here, you know what? Actually, here we go.
And there's the biggest bargain of all.
Oh,
There he is. There he is.
absolutely. And, as Walt would also say,
And the hard facts.
those are the hard facts right there. The biggest bargain of all is right here at Orange Go 55. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a comment what you feel. Hey, have you had any cruise line experience? Is this maybe entice you on actually having your own cruise line experience with Disney? Hey, go ahead and comment down below to let us know. And for that, I mean, hey, look, listen, you got to subscribe to Orange Go 55 to see my show, Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info squeezed fresh right from the Grove. Let's see. Let's do, a little classic right there for sure.
Yeah, and as Mr. Vash Sky had mentioned, definitely comment down below. Have you been on a Disney cruise? Are you thinking about it? Which itineraries? Which ports of call? We don't really get to discuss too much of the Disney Cruise Line on the channel, so definitely we'd love to hear from you guys. But I guarantee you there's going to be a lot more discussion of the cruise lines coming in the near future. And of course, let me start off. I'm George, the Disney Family Man. If you want to find me.
Oh, actually, you know what? But before you lead into that, I'm gonna play a little intro for you real quick. This is not the official George intro, by the way. I had to send that back because problems.
Yes.
George knows about it.
yes.
But I do have a little bit of an intro for you. Here we go.
And now your host,
Disney Family Man 23. There you go.
Yes. All right. There you go. Thank you so much. And as OG had mentioned, I'm George, the Disney Family Man. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Disney Family Man 23. You can interact with me on Twitter at Disney George. And of course, you'll find me here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And to close this out, of course, the man of the hour, who brought to you by this video that could not have been possible, the channel that could not have been possible, by the OG himself, no pun intended, Mr. OG 55 himself. Thanks for coming on, brother. So glad you were able to share your cruise line experiences with us, and definitely looking forward to hearing more of your adventures in the future.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, George. It was a lot of fun. I loved the cruise. I fell in love with it. It quickly became one of my favorite things to do. And I don't know, the parks, you got some competition because the cruise lines are like, I don't know. I'm kind of looking more at the cruise lines now. I don't know. It was a really good experience. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend if you have not been on a Disney cruise. Just try. I know it's expensive, but if your family can scrape together the money or whatever to get at least one time in there, try to do it. It is absolutely a beautiful experience. absolutely gorgeous experience. I loved it. And George, thank you so much for having me on so I can discuss that with you guys and everybody at home. And
Absolutely. And for all you watching and listening, thank you for joining us. Happy sailings and bon voyage.